Rafael Nadal was invincible until a Swede dethroned him. But long before that, this rivalry had already exploded. A single match stretched across 5 endless days. A rivalry pushed past the point of no return.
Sinceramente, es un chico que se extraña.
He must have been on his complaining mood today, no? I mean...
Provocations, mockery, constant tension.
No, call the supervisor. I don't want to play this.
When asked which player he would absolutely not want to play doubles with, Nadal didn't hesitate.
Soderling.
Discipline versus defiance. What happens when they collide? 2006. Rafael Nadal isn't just winning on clay. He's starting to redefine what dominance looks like. 53 straight victories on clay. 1 Roland Garros title in 1 appearance. And at not even 20 yet, he was undefeated in Paris. So when the draw comes out and the first man standing across the net is a tall, streaky Swede ranked around 50 in the world, everyone expects a routine execution. And that's exactly what they get. Nadal crushes Robin Soderling 6-2, 7-5, 6-1. With that win, he breaks Guillermo Vilas's Open-era record, climbing to 54 straight victories on clay, and shrugs it off like it's nothing.
It's not normal, because one day you can have bad luck. Anything.
And he wasn't wrong. At that point, literally nothing Rafa did on clay felt human. Most people assumed that was the end of the story, just another name buried on his Paris resume. But they were wrong, dead wrong. Because the next time these two stepped onto a court, everything changed. Before the French Open upset that shocked the entire world, this rivalry was already dripping with bad blood. Wimbledon, 2007. Pure chaos. Rain, suspensions, endless delays. Nearly 90 hours to finish a single match. What should have been a simple third-round encounter had turned into a 5-day psychological war. And right there, on that soggy London grass, the Nadal-Soderling rivalry caught fire.
Yo, sinceramente, es un chico que se extraña. Yo le he saludado a lo mejor, si te digo, 7 veces desde que estoy aquí en el circuito a él. Hola a la cara y no contestarme nunca. Hablando con la gente del vestuario, no oyes a casi nadie hablar bien de él.
But before all that, Saturday, June 30th. They step onto center court expecting a normal afternoon, and before they even finish warming up, rain stops play. Middle Sunday arrives, perfect weather, and still no play. Wimbledon's sacred rest day stays untouched, backlog or not.
El domingo, día de vacaciones para ellos. Ya que es un poco increíble, ¿no? Que sabiendo lo que viene después, que sigan teniendo el domingo de descanso, pero bueno, es un torneo especial y hay que aceptarlo.
Let's go back in. Monday, July 2nd. The match finally gets going, and from the very first ball, it's vintage Rafa. Impossible gets, absurd passing shots, and that soft touch at the net that still surprised people on grass. At 3-all, Nadal breaks, and never lets go. First set, 6-4. He opens the second set with a perfect drop shot and breaks in the very first game. Everything is unfolding exactly as expected. Soderling, seeded 28 and clearly on edge, starts to lose it. Racket slams, shouts toward his box, all frustration. Even on grass, the world number 2 looks untouchable. Heavy forehands, relentless depth, and a steady diet of drop shots. Complete control.
I work a lot on my movement around the court. I'm pretty tall, and then I think that's where I have my weakness, so that's where I put the most focus on.
At 4-3, after a brutal hold, Soderling roars like he's just saved a set point. And right then, the rain starts again. Nadal slips hard on a return. The chair umpire insists they keep playing.
I didn't suspend.
Qui voudrait qu'on arrête le
I haven't
match?
got the signal. We need to play.
Rafa argues the court is already dangerous between points, yet somehow breaks again for 5-3. Moments later, the covers finally come on.
We're suspending now.
Soderling is livid.
Me quieren hacer jugar 3 minutos donde ya está lloviendo, con la pista que resbalaba un montón, ¿no? al final pues a base de protestar un poco pues se paró y empezó a llover más, ¿no?
When play resumes, the very first point back, Soderling rips a forehand that clips the tape and dies on Nadal's side. A pure net cord winner. No apology. Not even a gesture. But Nadal stays ice cold, unbothered, unshaken. He closes out the second set. The scoreboard read 6-4, 6-4 Nadal, but the match was about to explode. The third set was a completely different story. Soderling finally dialed in, swinging freely, hitting flat, taking huge cuts at every ball. He broke for 5-3 and suddenly had the chance to serve for the set. But Nadal did what Nadal does. He raised his level, absurd defense, passing shots on the dead run, until Soderling cracked with a double fault. Breakback, 5-4, Soderling still ahead. The tension was suffocating. The set surged all the way into a tiebreak, both players crashing the net on almost every point. At 5-all, a few drops began to fall again. During a long rally, Nadal slipped hard and Soderling finished at the net. Set point, 6-5. And then, the unthinkable. Soderling missed the easiest overhead of the match. Long. Mini break to Nadal. 7-6. Match point. Nadal ripped a forehand that was called out. He challenged. Hawkeye showed it. Out. By just a few millimeters. Soderling fist pumped. The crowd gasped. London was cold and heavy, but centre court was boiling. And at 7-all, as the drama peaked, the rain came back. Again. Play suspended. Again. Perfect timing for a nightmare. When they returned, Soderling struck immediately, a huge forehand to earn his second set point. This time, he didn't blink. Ace set Soderling. He had saved a match point and flipped the entire match upside down. On a grey, damp London evening, nothing like the sun-soaked clay of home, Nadal suddenly found himself dragged into a fourth set he felt he had no business playing. The fourth set opened with the same contrast of styles. Nadal mixing height, spin, and those sneaky drop shots. Soderling unloading that cannon of a forehand. At 3-all, out of nowhere, Soderling ripped 3 returns in a row and broke Nadal to love. On grass, Rafa is always more vulnerable to that sudden knockout punch, and Soderling's massive backswing was built for exactly that. Nadal looked stunned. For Soderling, it was liftoff. His confidence exploded. He started painting lines, hitting the cleanest ball of the match. Another love hold, another barrage of flat missiles, and he closed the fourth set comfortably. Centre court, the cathedral, was roaring. A fifth set was coming, and the hostility that had been simmering for days was about to erupt. Nadal steps up to serve the first game of the decider, and right away, Soderling walks to the sideline to change his racket, a deliberate stall. When he finally returns, Nadal stops before even starting his service motion, ball in hand, and just stares, as if to ask, "Ready now?" Soderling turns his back and tugs the back of his shorts, perfectly mocking Nadal's signature ritual. Centre court erupts in laughter. Nadal doesn't laugh, not even close.
Oh well, it was more of a fun thing, you know. Until that, I think I had to wait for him. I mean, more than 200 times. Every point I had to wait for him. He had to wait for me one time, and he's starting already shaking his head, doing these things.
The match was officially on fire. First point, Soderling nets a ball. Nadal screams, "Vamos!" A message. He drags the Swede side to side, targeting the movement, breaking him down. Break of serve. 2-love. Nadal roar. Then, more rain. Nadal slips hard and crashes to the turf. Soderling doesn't even look over. He fist pumps.
Me caigo, ni viene a preguntarme, ni dice nada, se toca el culito. Cosas que no vienen a cuento de nada si un jugador es un profesional y es buena gente, ¿no? Y lo ha demostrado hoy, ayer, anteayer y durante todo el partido.
Moments later, rain halts the match again. Nadal leading 2-0, 30-all. Play suspended until Tuesday. Tuesday, 3rd of July. Soderling comes out blazing, wins the first 6 points, and levels the 5th set at 2-all. At 30 all, Nadal digs deep. An ace, then a full stretch diving backhand winner. 3-2 Nadal. And instantly, rain. Again. When they return, Soderling hammers an ace for 3 all, then screams in Nadal's face after a missed drop shot. 2 break points. Nadal saves them both. Holds. 4 all. And then, unbelievably, rain stops play once more. The whole situation is becoming farcical. Wednesday, July 4th, Nadal holds for 5-4. Next game, another Soderling ball clips the tape and dies. No apology, just another fist pump.
Reggie dentro ni dice nada.
If my opponent gets a lucky shot and he doesn't say I'm sorry, I don't care. For me, it's okay. Why should I say I'm sorry when I'm like happiest moment of my life? Why should I say I'm sorry?
Break point for Soderling. Nadal saves it with a monster forehand. 6-5 Nadal. Light drizzle starts again. Both players look up. This time, the umpire waves play on.
Play. It's stopping.
2 sloppy Soderling errors, 2 match points for Nadal. Soderling saves them with fearless hitting, and then a third, a fourth, a fifth. On the 6th match point, Nadal attacks the return. Soderling sends the next ball long. Challenge. Hawkeye confirms it. Match Nadal more than 90 hours after they first walked on court. Nadal drops to his knees in pure relief. Then, the usually polite Spaniard unloads.
Sinceramente, es un chico que se extraña. Porque yo le he saludado a lo mejor, si te digo, 7 veces desde que estoy aquí en el circuito a él. Hola a la cara y no contestarme nunca. Pero no, lo he preguntado a otros jugadores y no solo conmigo. Es con muchos, ¿no? Y no oyes a casi nadie hablar bien de él.
Soderling fires back immediately.
Rafa's been quite critical of you. Well, he said your sportsmanship. And just your thoughts on that.
He said what?
He was quite critical of your behaviour.
Okay, yeah. I'd probably say the same, but I won't do that. I keep it to myself. If he's complaining about that, I'll never say hi to him. What can I do?
The handshake, barely a glance.
He wasn't being correct during the match. In the end of the match, he gave me like this, so it was not nice for himself.
He was also complaining about the handshake, things like that.
He must have been on his complaining mood today, no?
The rivalry had officially exploded, and the truth is, this was only the beginning, because their next meeting, in Rome, would bring fresh controversy, and the one after that, in Paris, would change tennis history forever. Wimbledon 2007 had left a scar on Rafael Nadal, a deep personal one.
¿Con qué jugador de tenis no quisieras en absoluto hacer un partido de doble? Soderling.
He had won their 5-day war, yes, but it never felt like victory. He wanted something else now, real revenge. 2 years later, Rome, 2009. Nadal rolled into Rome like a man possessed, a clay court assassin at the absolute peak of his powers. This wasn't the Nadal who had slipped around on soggy grass. This was the clay king on his throne. When he stepped on court, it was his 148th career match on clay, and his record bordered on the absurd. 143 wins, 4 losses, and he was world number 1. Soderling held his opening service game. Cute, because that would be the only game he'd win all afternoon. He even carved out break points in Nadal's first 3 service games, but Rafa moved him like a puppet. Soderling was unloading winners that would smoke 99% of the tour, but Nadal wasn't the tour. Not on clay, not here. First set, 6-1, routine destruction. And frustration? It always has a price. Second set, Nadal leads 2-love, 30-all. He rips a ball near the baseline. It's called out. The umpire steps down to check the mark, but Soderling rushes in and points to a completely different one, a full meter away. Accident? Or provocation? Suddenly everything explodes.
I just pointed at it. I know. I just. You don't know. No, I just pointed at it when I came down. No. good, Robbie. I think the ball was good. We're going to replay it. Okay? I just pointed at the mark.
You gotta tell me where the mark is.
Yes, I just pointed at it before.
Okay,
I just pointed at it.
I didn't remember. I didn't see it.
I don't remember either, Robbie, but I just pointed at it. Yes, he's here. He's sitting down.
The umpire is lost. Soderling is furious. The whole scene turns into a circus.
I want to see it again. I want to see the mark again. Are you kidding me? He didn't show me more. I showed him more.
And Nadal, stone-faced, ice in his veins. He'd learned from Wimbledon, don't take the bait. When the point finally resumes, Nadal ends it with a gorgeous drop shot. Pure calm, pure control. 5-love. Now Soderling is sprinting just to avoid the bagel. He reaches game point and shanks an easy overhead into his own court. Break, bagel, done. Final score, 6-1, 6-love.
That was one of the best matches I've played all year. Maybe one of the best ever.
Translation? Message delivered, loud and clear. And yet, the real fireworks were still to come. Because the next time they met, in Paris, on Nadal's sacred ground, something would happen that tennis had never seen before. Roland Garros, 2009, 4th round. The Spaniard, 4-time champion, undefeated in Paris, arrived with a record that didn't feel real. 31 wins, 0 losses. The year before, he hadn't just won. He had steamrolled the field. Not a single set drop. And in the final, he dismantled world number 1 Roger Federer. Love him or hate him, Nadal's aura on clay was unlike anything the sport had ever seen. Most opponents walked onto court Philippe Chatrier already beaten, but not Robin Soderling.
The match against Rafa, I felt I had nothing to lose. I tried to remind myself that he never lost before. No one expected me to win. I knew that if I played my best tennis, I could give him a real tough match.
Fresh off the humiliation in Rome, Soderling came out swinging harder than ever. 2 massive forehands. A statement. Break of serve. 3-1 Soderling. He didn't blink, he just kept unloading. Flat, heavy, fearless. And he stunned Paris by taking the first set. Nadal had no answer for the firepower coming at him, and the danger didn't stop there. Soderling opened the second set with breakpoint at 1-love. Alarms ringing. But Nadal shut them down, held serve, then broke immediately after, the clay king pumping his fist, waking up. At 4-3, 30 all, they played an absurd rally, the kind Chatrier lives for. The crowd exploded. Here's the truth about beating Rafa Nadal. You have to be perfect, every point, every minute.
Oh, Nadal, no matter the score, he would always play every point like it was the last point of his career.
Soderling saved breakpoint, crushed an ace, and climbed to 6-5. His forehand looked like it came from another planet. Nadal weathered the storm and pushed the set into a tiebreak, where Soderling finally cracked. 5 unforced errors, plus a lucky net cord winner from Nadal, who even apologized. Brutal 6-love run. Nadal takes the breaker 7-2, 1 set all. Soderling knew the only path forward. Go even bigger. Hit flatter, hit deeper. Don't let Nadal dictate a thing.
Well, you have to be aggressive. I think the way to beat him, especially on clay, is to be the one dictating. He's so good when he gets the time to run around with his forehand.
The third set became a street fight. Short, violent rallies, pure power on clay. At 3-all, Soderling ripped a backhand missile that pierced through Nadal's defense. Break. Serving at 5-4, he produced a flawless hold. 6-4. 2-1. No one in history had ever taken 2 sets from Nadal at Roland Garros. Nadal entered the 4th set with a 48-0 record in completed best-of-5 matches on clay. Even trailing 2-1, many still believed he'd turn it around. Rafa steadied himself, the classic Nadal reset, and grabbed an early break. Soderling broke straight back to love, detonating forehands from every corner of the court. The match turned electric. Nadal's forehand finally fired up, the height variations came back, clear signs he was rediscovering his rhythm. but Soderling's power never dipped, not for a second. At 4-all, Nadal chased down an impossible ball, winning a ridiculous point on pure heart. He held for 6-5. Soderling stepped up to serve, laser-focused. At love 15, he erased the danger with a massive, fearless point. Back to 40-30. The contrast said everything. Soderling hitting down on the ball, Nadal hitting up. Two completely different worlds colliding. Another tiebreak. First point, a marathon rally ending with Soderling painting the line, mini break. Then Nadal missed the next one. Kshatriya erupted. They wanted a new champion. Nadal rushed a net approach, 3-1, then missed a backhand, 4-1. Could Soderling actually do it? He raced to 6-1, 5 match points. Nadal saved the first, but on the second, he couldn't handle the heavy ball dropped at his feet. Soderling had done it. He had knocked Rafael Nadal out of Roland Garros for the first time in his life.
Finally made it past the 4th round in a Grand Slam, and that was something for me that I didn't achieve before. And I was playing well in the smaller tournaments, beating almost anybody, but I couldn't do it in the Grand Slam, and this was actually the first time I did it in a really big tournament, and that was a big change for me in my career.
He didn't stop there.
I didn't want to celebrate too much because I was still in the tournament.
And reached his first Grand Slam final. But in the end, it was Federer who won Roland Garros in 2009. Years later, Jo-Wilfried Tsonga revealed Nadal had been battling severe tonsillitis, something Rafa never used as an excuse. But make no mistake, the rematch was coming, and it would arrive 1 year later. In the final. By the end of 2009, Robin Soderling wasn't just dangerous anymore. He was a full-fledged top-tier threat. He had qualified for the ATP Finals in London, and the draw wasted no time. First round robin match, Nadal versus Soderling. Again. The tension was immediate. Nadal wanted revenge. Soderling wanted validation, proof that Paris wasn't some one-off miracle. The first set stayed tight until Soderling edged ahead 5-4. Nadal served to stay alive. At 30-40, he fired what looked like a clean ace down the tee. Called out. Nadal didn't challenge. The replay later showed it clipped the line. Second serve. A long rally. Soderling outlasted him. Then, on 2 points played behind Nadal's unusually soft second serve. 2 forehand errors. Set Soderling. Second set. Same script. Again 5-4 Soderling. Again Nadal serving to stay in it. The Spaniard suddenly found himself facing match point. First match point. The Swede misses long. Soderling unloads a cross-court backhand winner. Second match point. Too good. 6-4, 6-4. For the second time in 6 months, Soderling had beaten Rafael Nadal.
La falta de esa confianza y que el otro saca mejor que yo, pues ha sido decisivo en el partido, ¿no? Hay que aceptar el momento que no es el mejor.
Soderling was no longer an underdog. He had beaten the King of Clay twice, on clay and indoors. He belonged with the elite. But then he admitted something nobody expected.
As a kid, I thought, okay, if you reach the top in the world, everything's going to be great. That was for me the end goal. But when I were there, all of a sudden I was 4 in the world, and I realized it's not the end. Now it starts, now the real pressure starts.
Paris 2009 hadn't been a miracle. It had been a statement. Now the question heading into 2010 was simple. Could he keep proving it? A full year had passed since Robin Soderling delivered the biggest shock modern tennis had seen. But this time, he wasn't the underdog. He rolled into Paris as world number 5, a fully established force. He took out the defending champion Roger Federer in 4 brutal sets, then survived Thomas Berdych in a draining 5-setter. Exhausted, mentally and physically, Soderling still reached back-to-back French Open finals. Across the net stood a very different Rafael Nadal. Restored, reloaded, reborn.
More problems than usual, and I didn't win the title for 11 months, so it was difficult, but at the same time always is nice to fight, to come back. So.
And come back he did. Nadal ripped through the clay season like a man possessed. Monte Carlo, Rome, Madrid, 3 Masters, 1,000 titles. Not a single set dropped in Paris, 22-0 on clay in 2010. This was the rematch the world had been waiting for. Nadal was the favorite, yes, but Soderling's power and the ghost of 2009 kept the entire stadium on edge. The final. It started exactly where their rivalry always lived. Soderling bombing serves, dictating with that flat, violent forehand. And on clay, ironically, a net cord helped him. He apologized immediately. A small gesture, but proof that this wasn't Wimbledon 2007 anymore. At 2-all, Nadal earned breakpoint. Soderling let a ball sail, thinking it would fly long, but it caught the line. Break Nadal. First blood. The Swede fought back, earned 2 breakpoints at 3-4, but a long forehand and a mistimed return killed both chances. At 5-3, Soderling unraveled. 3 straight set points for Nadal, and though the Swede found enough free points with the serve to force Rafa to close it, Nadal was too steady, too locked in. First set, Nadal, 6-4. Every Soderling winner came back even heavier. The Swede actually earned 4 breakpoints, more than he'd seen all match. One return winner would have beaten almost anyone. But Nadal, he fought like Nadal. A stretching volley, a massive vamos, all 4 breakpoints saved. In 2010, he'd gotten his aura back. He faced 8 breakpoints in the entire final and saved all 8.
I love to fight every point, and I did all my life, no?
At 2-all came the turning point. Soderling kept ripping the ball, but whatever he hit, Nadal redirected with supernatural precision. Break Nadal. From that moment on, Soderling was playing someone from another dimension. He won only 5 points in the last 5 games. Second set, Nadal, 6-2. 1 set away from reclaiming his kingdom. Third set, Soderling wasn't the same physical force he had been in 2009. The forehand didn't explode anymore. The depth wasn't as heavy. He could only produce that brutal, flat pace in flashes. Against a fully restored Rafael Nadal, the only man who had ever beaten him in Paris suddenly looked ordinary.
I had a couple of really tough matches before the final, and I knew that I wasn't really 100% physically. I was tired, and I knew that I had to be on my top to beat Rafa. I really tried. I pushed myself all the time, but that day, I didn't really have the energy to beat him.
Reduced to a one-dimensional hitter. No creativity, no variation, nothing that truly unsettled Nadal on his court. Errors piled up. Nadal broke immediately in Game 1. Soderling earned break chances, but Nadal slammed the door every time. On serve, Rafa was untouchable. At 5-4, 40-love, the finish line appeared. And on the very first championship point, Soderling's backhand dove into the net. Match Nadal. 6-4, 6-2, 6-4. He collapsed onto the clay. Tears came instantly. After the chaos of 2009, this one meant everything.
Well, it was a difficult year because the divorce of my parents before, after I had problem in the knees. After that, when I came back, I broke the abdominal in the US Open. So it was a very difficult year for me, and be back on the top for me. That's for me is a very, very important satisfaction.
Robin Soderling, drained but respectful, acknowledged the reality.
I congratulate Rafa to another victory, 5th victory here. It's really impressive, and if you continue to play like this, you will sure have the chance to win many more.
I'm actually even more proud of than just beating Rafa and reaching the final 2009 is that I was able to repeat that in 2010. I showed, it was just not the fluke.
On Monday, Nadal returned to world number 1. And exactly 1 month later, they would meet again. At Wimbledon, the very place where their rivalry first exploded. Wimbledon 2010, quarterfinals. Grass, the very place where all the bad blood had first exploded 3 years earlier.
Good serve, perfect flat shots. He's playing great, and it's going to be a very difficult match for me, I think. Hopefully for him too.
Soderling arrived riding the best season of his life. The opening set? A statement of intent. Huge serves, flat missiles off both wings. Moments into the match, Soderling was up 5-love.
In that first set, He was giving me a proper beating.
Nadal managed a couple of holds, but the set was long gone. 6-3 Soderling, second set, and the momentum was starting to shift. Early on, at 30-all, Soderling crushed a ball right onto the line. Called out, he challenged. Hawkeye showed it clipped the line. By the rules, the point had to be replayed. Instead, the chair umpire gave breakpoint Soderling.
One of the one players that...
Oh, come on! But Pascal, what are you saying?
Nadal snapped.
No. He says out and I hit the ball. Come on. No, I don't want to play.
No, he's right. Rafa's right.
No. Call the supervisor. I don't want to play this.
Asked for the supervisor. Denied.
But what happened umpiring with me? Come on. Pascal, that's unbelievable. Feeling he's wrong for sure. I hit the ball like he says out.
He stepped back, took a breath, then fired an unreal forehand winner. Followed it with a cold-blooded ace. One, love Nadal. A switch flipped. Next game, he went love 40 and broke. The forehand was on fire. The defense back to vintage 2008 levels. He reeled off game after game. Second set, 6-3 Nadal. 1 set all. Nadal came out blazing in the third, broke for 3-2. Soderling answered with breakpoint in the next game. But Rafa slammed the door shut with 2 brutal forehands and a clutch serve. 4-2. Serving at 5-4 to close the set, Nadal bounced the ball, and Soderling suddenly called the physio. The trainer took over 5 minutes to appear. The timing was suspicious. Nadal was visibly irritated. The pause worked. Soderling forced errors, earned breakpoint, and Nadal finally cracked. 5 all center court exploding. Tie break. Pure intensity. Nadal's forehand was untouchable, his serve unbreakable. 7-6 Nadal, 2-1. In the fourth set, Soderling still fought, he always did, but Nadal had shifted into a different gear. He broke early, consolidated, mixed height, angles, defense, aggression, the full arsenal. Another break, then a final serve plus forehand combination to seal it. Match Rafael Nadal. One of the most demanding matches of the tournament, mentally and physically. Soderling threw everything at him, and Nadal answered every single question.
Very important victory for me, I think. Very difficult and very important. And I'm very happy.
A bit frustrated today because I didn't put many returns in, and of course he served pretty well.
Then came that question.
How has your relationship with Robin changed through the years?
Every year, and every time that I play against him, you're going to ask me the same question, but I don't have any problem with Soderling. I had a little bit problem in this tournament a few years ago, but
the rivalry wasn't finished. There was still one last match, one final chapter on the Paris clay before closing the book on one of tennis's most electric, underrated storylines. What the world didn't know yet was that Robin Soderling was already falling apart from the inside. He was still winning matches, still unloading that huge flat forehand, still ranked among the very best. But inside, he was empty.
Every second felt like an hour.
In my body, I was so tired. You know, my head was fine, but I had no energy.
That's the price I had to pay. And of course, it's not only super healthy, you know, to become a top athlete.
He was fighting to stay in the elite. His body had already started fighting back. Roland Garros, 2011, quarter-final. Nadal had looked shaky all fortnight, even pushed to 5 sets in round 1. He admitted it openly.
Va a ser el test más difícil. Yo juego bien o me voy para Mallorca, no.
But when the moment came, the real Rafa reappeared. From the very first ball, he stood on the baseline, daring Soderling to hit through him, and the Swede tried, but the explosiveness wasn't there anymore. Half a step slower, balls landing a fraction shorter. Nadal broke twice and controlled the opening set, 6-4. After weeks of doubt, Nadal suddenly remembered who he was. Heavy forehand, laser cross-court, running parallel winners. Everything clicked. Soderling won the first game of the set, and that was it. Nadal rolled through 8 straight games, a suffocating display of depth, intensity, and footwork. 6-1 Nadal. Soderling looked lost, frustrated, out of ideas. In the third set, the match looked over, but champions don't go quietly. A blistering backhand down the line, a roar, a breakback. Chatrier felt a tiny echo of 2009. At 5-all 15-40, Soderling had 2 break points, a real shot to steal the set. But Nadal reached for his emergency kit, the wide serve. He escaped. He held. 6-5. Soderling forced a tiebreak, one last act of belief. He even struck first in the breaker. One love. But against Nadal, you don't get away with errors. Not here. Not on this court. The Swede's all-or-nothing hitting began to unravel. One final forehand into the net, and it was over. 6-4, 6-1, 7-6 Nadal had outlasted him. Physically, mentally, emotionally. Head-to-head ended 6-2 Nadal. But tennis didn't end the rivalry. Illness did. A few weeks later, Soderling was diagnosed with glandular fever, mononucleosis. His immune system had finally broken under years of pressure and stress. He played one last tournament in Båstad in 2011 and never stepped on an ATP court again.
I had to retire when I was playing my best tennis. My dream was always to win a Grand Slam tournament. I was competing in an extremely difficult era, with Roger, Rafa, and Novak. But I was up there. I beat them all a few times. So for sure, if I could have played for a few years longer, maybe. Who knows?
At just 27 years old, one of the most feared ball strikers of his generation was forced to walk away. 4 years off the tour followed, and by the time he was 31, the comeback was no longer possible. And in the end, at least he got to say goodbye with a trophy in his hands. That final Båstad title in 2011, surrounded by the people who loved him.